So, I know I was supposed to do another video this past weekend, but something pretty life-changing happened a few days ago that I haven't really mentioned publicly outside of my very immediate family and a couple of very close friends of mine. This past Wednesday, which would have been September 25th, made the drive to campus after waking up. Everything was perfectly fine. And I got there around 3 o'clock, an hour early, like I normally do, to beat the traffic. But after maybe 10 minutes or so of sitting in my truck reading, preparing for my class, I began to notice that something didn't feel right physically. A little backstory. On November 17th, 2010, while coming off of base when I was stationed in Nevada with the Air Force, I was hit by a 19-year-old drunk driver who at the time was on alcohol, marijuana, which hadn't been legalized at that point, and a friend's Xanax. Resulted in me fracturing my spine, and as of July of this year, having 15 procedures in total. So with that, I drove to campus and noticed that something was wrong. I called my pain clinic team that I've been working with since 2011 and scheduled an appointment that was earlier this morning, Monday, September 30th. But then around 3:30, 3:45, while I'm sitting in the parking lot, I began to really feel like something was out of the ordinary. You know, I've lived with this pain for almost 9 years now, so I'm able to tell when something really isn't right physically. I made the decision to leave and come back home so I can try to rest and give my body a chance to recuperate from whatever was going on. I made it from Racine to Independence on the expressway, so driving that's maybe 4 miles before my left arm and my left leg went completely numb. This only happens when my back is really bad, but it doesn't go completely numb. I lose the feeling and it feels like it's asleep. Like someone had sat on it and it's never been that bad. That was an issue because while I'm driving on the expressway, doing between 70 and 80 miles an hour, I drive with my left hand. So with my left arm completely numb from pretty much this area all the way down through my fingertips and my left hip all the way down through my toes, no feeling, I switched to driving with my right hand. Although I am right-handed, I do the majority of things with my left hand. So I'm driving with cruise control in my left hand. Another 20 minutes or so, I make it to the first of 2 tolls after Oak Brook, a west suburb of Chicago, and my right leg, goes completely numb. So now I'm driving with cruise control with 3 limbs that I physically cannot feel and have very little control over, just driving with my right arm. And then maybe 10, 15 minutes away from the house, my right arm goes numb. Even after the accident and all of the surgeries and the trauma that I've had to my spine, I've never experienced a problem with my right arm. So when my right arm went numb, I knew instantly something was not right. It was out of the ordinary. So I called my oldest brother, Jamal. He lives with both me and my son, DJ, and told him, when I get home, I need you to take me to the hospital immediately. Make sure that DJ is ready because I'm not parking, I'm not coming in. I just need you to be ready when I get home in 10 minutes. By the time I pulled up into our parking lot, Jamal and DJ were waiting for me. And to get from my front seat to the middle row behind the driver's seat, Jamal basically had to carry me. And I couldn't do it without an enormous amount of pain and pretty much breaking down physically, mentally, emotionally, because I had very little feeling in either of my limbs. So we get to the emergency room. I made the decision to go to Edwards, bypassing 3 or 4 hospitals on the way, because Edwards Hospital has done basically all of my surgeries, all of my procedures, since I've been back home in Chicago area since late 2010. So when we got to the emergency room, I'm in tremendous pain. I can't walk. I end up having to be wheeled back to the emergency room in a wheelchair. And as I'm speaking to the doctors, they're running tests. I just can't control the tears. I can't feel any of my limbs. And when the feeling does come back, it's in tremendous pain, like I've never experienced in my life. In addition to my mid and lower back spasming, which I haven't experienced in multiple years. I spent the majority of last Wednesday and early Thursday morning in the hospital. And I got some news that pretty much broke me. When I got my spinal implant, they initially told me I had, 20 years or so, I will begin to lose a little bit of the sensation in my legs. I was okay with that. And then this summer, after moving back from New York from grad school just back to the Chicago area, I went through 5 consecutive days of testing because I was in tremendous pain and didn't want to have to go through that while I began my PhD program. After those 5 days of testing, I got a phone call saying, we need you to come in for immediate surgery. Your spinal injuries progressed a lot faster than we thought, and the degeneration has progressed. So I went in for a spinal injection, and in the following week, another minor procedure on my left shoulder to try to control the pain. They told me, you recover in about 3 days. That was July 7th and July 18th. It took about 7 weeks for me to fully recover from the pain in my back alone. 7 weeks, and when they told me 3 days. So now that I'm in the hospital this past Wednesday and Thursday, a lot of issues came up. Number one being, because I was in a motorcycle accident, there's a chance that I slammed my head on the concrete when I was hit by the car. I don't really remember it, but protocol says that if you're in an accident like that, you should have had some type of brain scan just to ensure there's no TBI, no traumatic brain injury. I've never had one in the nearly 9 years that I've been getting medical care across the country. Some of the physicians that were coming in and out of the room were talking, and although they couldn't confirm it at the time, and we're still waiting for more appointments that I just scheduled today, I may have a brain injury. The lower back injury that I've lived with explains why my legs go numb. But 9 years, we've never figured out why my arms, used to be one arm, but now both arms go completely numb. So one issue is they believe that it may be a brain injury. And if it is in fact a brain injury, with it being 9 years later, there is not a lot of hope that if there is any damage that it could be either slowed, stopped, or repaired at this point. Another issue is I've had, like I said, 15 procedures at this point. Because I've had so much trauma to my spine, there may be neurological damage now that has spread from one section of my body to the other. They really haven't seen it. They don't know what to do. So for my appointment this morning, once again, wheeled in the wheelchair into the office in tears. And the advanced nurse practitioner that's been on my team for nearly a decade now has never seen me like this, and she couldn't figure it out. Another issue that we're concerned about is because of my age and the way this just rapidly onset out of nowhere and affected all of my limbs, and at times my vision is severe MS onset. Because I wear a fentanyl patch to manage the pain that I've been in since this accident, the highest dosage that you can get legally over the counter, which took years to obtain, being in the field that I am in, as a doctoral student and a social worker and a researcher that works specifically with substance use and opiates, I know how dangerous it is to mix or combine opiates, especially with fentanyl, and how potent it is and how it is very easy to overdose on it, which is why I carry naloxone and why my son is trained and my brother and my mom and anyone that's close to me that know how to use it, they know I have it, where to access it. So being on such a high dosage, I can't take anything else to manage this pain. Because we don't know what it is or how to treat it, I pretty much have to live with this paralysis that comes and goes. Certain doctors are saying there may be a time where I experience the numbness and then the loss of feeling, and it may never come back. A few minutes ago, I scheduled more MRIs on my neck, my lumbar, my cervical, and my thoracic spine. I just had a neurologist added to my already massive team to try to figure out what's going on, to see if it's a brain injury or something neurological, who may also decide to order more testing and brain scans 9 years later. The issue is all of those tests and that next appointment is 3 weeks away. So for 21 days, I have to figure out how to live my life with what's going on right now. How to get out of my room. My oldest brother, Jamal, has stepped up tremendously. He's been driving me everywhere. He's been cooking for both me and my son. He's been trying to keep the house clean for us. He's been walking both of my dogs. My son DJ has stepped up after realizing what just happened and how serious it was. I finally filled my mom in on what happened yesterday and told her exactly what I learned. My dad knows, and my brother and those really close to me have just found out what's going on. It's scary enough knowing that suddenly and unexpectedly, all 4 limbs go numb to the point where you either have tremendous pain or you can't move them at all. It's even scarier knowing that none of your physicians on your team can tell you what's going on because they haven't really seen it. And then after those phone calls scheduling my MRIs and my next follow-up appointment, waiting 21 days is probably the hardest thing because it's mentally and physically and emotionally draining. I have to call University of Illinois Chicago and speak to Director Shea, who is the director of my PhD in social work program, and let him know this is what just occurred, and find out is there a way that I can defer and ensure that my spot is still held so that I can tend to these medical concerns if I can come back next year. We just began week 6 today, so I would have to repeat the first 6 weeks of the first semester, which isn't that big of a deal. But knowing how hard I've fought over the years and how many things I've faced to get to this point, only for something like this to hit me and sidetrack everything. It's very hard to deal with. In an instant, my entire life just changed. I've been in a wheelchair before for several months. After a surgery in 2011 that went bad, and that was tough enough. Trying to be mobile in a wheelchair in a house that's carpeted on the second floor. Very much the situation I'm in now. But I managed because I had use of my arms. Now, it's completely different because my arms are also coming and going. Specifically my left arm, which I can't even pick up and stably hold this coffee cup that's next to me without fear of dropping it or being in tremendous pain from the weight of an 8-ounce coffee cup. I can't sit in my truck and drive the 15 minutes to my mom's house without being in tremendous pain and breaking down. I can't sit for too long without being in pain, or lie in my bed without spasms or losing feeling on whatever side of my body that I'm laying on. So I've been awake for days, rarely sleeping. I think I got 3 hours last night. 3 hours. Since all of this happened, I've eaten twice. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And for 5 days. 4 days, excuse me. I've eaten twice, 2 meals in 4 days. Because I can't even lift my arms to hold a fork or a spoon at times. Or microwave. Let alone stand in the kitchen and cook for 40 minutes, 50 minutes. Yesterday, I picked my son up from my mom's house because I had to ask her to watch him for me, because knowing that I can barely move, it's been very hard to even tend to his needs. So when we got home, I brought him into my bedroom and I told him the truth very bluntly. He's one of the few people that has seen how I really am day in and day out, and how much pain I really endure that very few people notice because I hide it very well. But for days, he has seen me crying nonstop from uncontrollable pain. And he said something, which is probably the hardest thing for me to grasp right now. It's that he's seen how hard I fought over the years just to see him, and then getting full custody, and then fighting through the pain and the mental trauma from being deployed, and even through it all, the people that I've managed to reach, and speaking engagements, and being one of the top veterans in the country, and just the lives that I've touched, and being able to go to an Ivy League school and graduating from that and getting accepted directly to a PhD program fully funded. He's seen how much I've worked and how hard I've worked and how much I've really endured, all for this to happen. And it feels like it's not fair. Because I don't really know what to do. I'm so lost. Everything that's happening right now is completely out of my control. I'm literally depending on everyone else for everything right now. And if you know me, I do not like depending on people. I'm not the type of person to ask for help or that can stand not being in control of certain things in my life. But every single thing that's happening right now is out of my control, and I have to ask for help for everything. And when this happened on Wednesday, it completely broke me. I'm going to be completely honest. I told my mom and my dad something I have not said for the majority of my life. And it's, I'm truly terrified right now. No one knows what's happening. We don't know how to stop it, if it can be stopped. We can't manage the pain. We don't know if I will lay down one day and never be able to get back up on my own. So much that I've fought for over these years, I feel like it just changed. And a lot of people that they keep saying, you've gotten through so much, you've fought through so much, keep, just hold on, believe that you can get through this. But this is something that I don't know how to get through it. I don't know what to think. How do you tell someone, one day I woke up and 6 hours later, I could barely move any part of my body. And no one knows what to do. So for at least the next 21 days, while I wait to get these MRIs and wait to meet with another neurologist, I have no way to manage what's going on. I don't even know what to call what's going on. No one does. There's so much that I feel like I'm losing out on, or will lose out on, if this progresses to what a lot of the doctors I've met with in the past 5 days think it's going to happen. DJ's birthday is 2 weeks from today. 2 weeks. His 12th birthday. That weekend is a 5-day weekend, and we're planning on throwing him a party, him and his friends, having a sleepover. He's never had a sleepover before. It's something he's missed out on is when he was in his prior environment before I got custody. I wanted to do that for him. Let him be a kid. Enjoy things that kids should enjoy. Go to an indoor arcade. Go watch the new Addams Family that's coming out. And just stay up all night playing Nintendo Switches or PlayStations or watching movies or Beyblades or Legos or whatever he wanted to do. Just enjoy being a kid. And in an instant, that all changed. I feel like he's also going to lose out on so much. Because there are so many things we wanted to do that we have not done together. And this is going to affect everyone that's close to me. He's so worried about what I'm going through, and it's very understandable. Kids worry about their parents just like parents worry about their kids. It is very understandable. Me and DJ are very close. But I don't want him to lose out on his childhood worrying about me when I had my time to enjoy being a kid. I had my time of sleepovers and playing with friends and running track and sports and baseball and all the things that kids get to do. But at the same time, DJ is getting ready to probably lose out on a lot of time that most fathers want to have with their sons, that most sons want to have with their fathers. And to see him break down over there yesterday, that was probably the thing that hurt the most. Not knowing that, okay, I may have to defer from my PhD program or withdraw completely. Not being solely, okay, I may be confined to a wheelchair yet again, or not knowing if or when it'll happen. But watching my son break down because he is so worried about what had happened to me and possibly missing out on his childhood, it probably hurt the most. So for 3 weeks, I have to figure out a way to get through this, whatever this is. And I don't know how I'm going to do it. To be completely honest, I have no idea what to do, what to think, what to say. I don't think very few people actually would. I haven't said anything publicly because I don't even know how to process this. But I had a Marine vet reach out to me today on Instagram, which is why I decided to actually say something. He inboxed me and he told me, I'm a vet, and I've been following you. I haven't said anything. But just watching how hard you fought through what you deal with every single day and how many people you have helped along the way is an inspiration. You give me hope just by sharing your story. And even though he had no clue what was going on, the majority of people have no clue of what's been going on. I needed to hear that. My mom has told me that. DJ has told me that in tears. This veteran has told me that. People very close to me, the very few that know, they have told me that. And although I do feel like this has completely shattered a lot of my goals and things that I've worked so hard for and have wanted to do in the future, I'm not going to say that I feel completely defeated or hopeless. I've survived 2 near-fatal suicide attempts. I've survived being deployed to Iraq in a combat zone. I've survived substance use and alcoholism. I've survived being in a wheelchair where they told me before I would never use my legs again. For years I fought to first find DJ and then to see him on alternating weekends. And I continued to fight for years until finally getting full custody. There are a lot of things I've gone through in these past 10 years. But the key is I've always fought. Even when I felt my lowest, I've always tried to fight. And although we can't really say what's happening right now, or how to manage it, or fix it, or live just day by day with what's changing, I can't give up. It's not in me to give up. I can't have DJ watch me give up because I've given up twice and I don't want to do that again. It is very hard. Most days I just lay in bed and cry. And for me to say that publicly, it takes a lot to say. It hurts. And I'm terrified of what may happen or what's already begun. But I cannot and will not allow myself to give up. DJ is watching and needs his father to be here for him and to take care of him and to set an example for him that regardless of what happens, as long as you continue to fight and don't give up, and you have your support system by your side, you can get through anything. Yes, I have to make a lot of adjustments, and things are changing very quickly, a lot of which I can't control. But I also have to remember I have someone watching me every single day. And I have to set that example every single day.